This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. Sorry for dragging my feet on dissecting yesterday's Flounder podcast. Listening to it is seriously like wading through a swamp of self-righteous drivel. I am forcing myself, though, because, as I've said before, this woman is extremely dangerous. Tuning into her manipulative, venomous spiel is definitely torture, but we can't afford to tune it out. Evil doesn't take a nap, and neither can we. Even if we have gotten our country back here in the United States for now, because Donald Trump is in office, these people will slither back with a vengeance until their NGOs are gutted, their funding choked off, and the worst of them are locked up. Don't kid yourself thinking Harry and Meghan are finished. They are gunning for political relevance, full throttle, and this is what I see in the second episode. People have yet to clock what Meghan's up to with these podcasts, and that's exactly what we need to tear into this week. So I forced myself through this latest podcast, and it's no shocker. A total cesspool of veiled digs aimed squarely at the royal family with Catherine as the prime target. Meghan's too slick to name drop, but the venom is unmistakable. She's weaponizing race again, as always, and shamelessly exploiting vulnerable communities for clout through her guest, Reshma Saujani, without ever dipping into her own tired sob story. But we all know the references that are being made. Predictably, Meghan fails to forge even a fleeting connection with Saujani, another awkward, cringe-inducing miss. The guest's so-called advice is the real travesty here. It's just self-absorbed dribble, fixated on their own desires and insecurities. There's not a shred of inspiration or practical wisdom, nothing to make you give a damn about their ambitions. It's hollow, self-indulgent noise that evaporates the moment it's spoken. What makes this episode particularly galling, though, is how Meghan uses Saujani's platform to subtly amplify her own grudges. So even though Saujani is speaking, Meghan's feeding her the questions to get her to talk about certain things that tie back to Meghan. The conversation dances around themes of being othered and overcoming systemic barriers, but it's clear Meghan's steering it to paint herself as a victim, once again, of the royal family's supposed privilege. Her refusal to engage authentically with Saujani's experiences, like her struggles growing up with not a lot of money, only underscores Meghan's disconnect. Instead of building a bridge, she hijacks the moment to push her narratives, leaving the listener with nothing but a sour aftertaste of manipulation. This really isn't a podcast. It's a calculated performance. And, it's at this point so predictable. What's glaringly obvious to me with Meghan and this woman Reshma is the festering envy, this obsession with whiteness, even as they preach about not needing validation or proving they're enough.
Too, right? I remember being so mad, Meghan, that my mom named me Reshma. I'm like, why didn't you just name me Rita or Rachel? Because everyone would be like, how do I say it?
Right.
And, we didn't have a lot of money. So we were wearing the Kmart shoes and the wrong jeans and the wrong shirt. And remember, it was all Forenza sweatshirts and feathers and the 90s.
Oh, the sparkly BB shirt that said BB in sequins across the front. I saved up for that. Yes.
Totally. And we had none of we had the knockoff version, of all of that. But so I really tried to be white. I tried to be those other girls and deny my culture and all of it.
It's all self-deluded pep talk to mask their inferiority complex. Deep down, we know Meghan definitely is consumed by what she can't have. Both of them resent not being white. And for Meghan, that eats her alive when she glares at the royal family, especially Catherine. That's the root of her venom, her malice. In her warped mind, their whiteness is the ultimate symbol of privilege and power that she will never, ever be able to have. And she hates that. Now, in my opinion, this podcast so far, episodes 1 and 2, have been a masterclass literally in passive-aggressive sniping, cloaked in sanctimonious whining about powering through burnout and showing up when you'd rather crawl into a hole because you don't feel well. It's the same navel-gazing, feelings-obsessed tripe as the series archetype, a self-indulgent slog that prioritizes Meghan's ego over substance that actually benefits the audience. She's not even pretending to care about her laughable jam venture. And this Flounders podcast is really supposed to be going hand in hand with this As Ever Whatever launch. To me, not only is the jam business a scam, but this podcast too is all a sham. And in my opinion, it very much feels like a Trojan horse because the undertones and messaging throughout not only the first episode, but now the second one, is pushing Marxist-leaning propaganda laced with heavy-handed political jabs tailored for the Democrat playbook. Throughout this podcast, we get the sob story about how hard it is to be a mother and craving time off. Literally a transparent plug for paid family leave straight out of the party's talking points. And it's so convenient that Reshma is a diehard Democrat who worked for the Hillary Clinton campaign and runs the organization Moms First, who is pushing for this paid family leave. Then there's the preachy nonsense about refugees coming into America with the NGOs being there with open arms to get them up and running with empathy and love. It's a barely veiled swipe at Trump. We all know this. Now that his policies have choked off the taxpayer-funded pipeline to these organizations, Catholic charities in particular were drowning in public cash.
So, for me, my parents came here as refugees. My mother was actually several months pregnant with my sister when they came. They had no money. And the Catholic Church took them in, fed them, sheltered them, clothed them. So I've always had this deep love for this country and for that spirit, right, of empathy, that we shelter and that we love and then we care for those who have been displaced.
I hope you heard some of those buzzwords that the Democrats like to use when they talk about these migrants, such as displaced, refugees. Harry even considered himself a refugee because he fled the UK, remember? This isn't a serious podcast about entrepreneurs. It's a calculated middle finger by Meghan to conservative policies exploiting hot-button issues like immigration that are dominating headlines in the US and UK right now. Meghan knows how to lean into the political theater without making it look like she's leaning into the political theater. And her guest, Reshma Saujani, is not an innocent bystander either. And neither is Lemonada Media. They, too, are aligned with Hillary Clinton and her progressive, liberal, destroying America agenda. In my opinion, Meghan's not here to inspire or connect. She really is performing for her political allies, using Saujani as a stepping stone to amplify her own relevance. The result is a cynical, manipulative stunt masquerading as a chat, leaving listeners like me with nothing but a bitter aftertaste of agenda-driven posturing. The other thing that I'm not surprised here with is Meghan's desperate stab at seeming relatable. To bond with her guests, she dusts off the tired miscarriage lie, doubles down for the critics, and pivots to online bullying and mommy woes. None of it lands. Zero connection, just a transparent political agenda. Has anybody caught what Meghan has been doing here? In the first episode, she talks about this post-mortem preeclampsia. Now in the second episode, she's talking about having this miscarriage. And then I guarantee in future episodes, she's going to have more female health problems. And the reason why I'm asking if anybody recognizes what's happening here is because women's health seems to be her flavor of the month because she knows Biden funneled a fortune to Jill's pet project before he bailed. Then in September of 2024, when Harry was in New York and was at the Clinton Global Initiative, Jill Biden announces this $500 million initiative with CGI on women's health initiatives. So, wow, what a coincidence that Meghan all of a sudden has all these female health problems. You know what I mean? How much more obvious can you be, Meghan? We know every word out of Meghan's mouth is calculated. Not a shred of sincerity or authenticity. Quite predictable. If Meghan really wanted to connect with Saujani, when she mentioned that she grew up in Chicago, that should have been Meghan's cue to jump in and say, I went to school at Northwestern and I know the area, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. Crickets, which gives more validation for me that Meghan never really went there. Or how about Meghan trying to commiserate with her when she mentions that she grew up poor and talking about having to wear Kmart clothes in the 90s when Meghan was supposedly a scrappy little activist? Instead, Meghan rambles about a BB slut shirt from the mid 2000s when she was likely yacht hopping, not scraping by. I mean, did you catch it? Let me play it again for you.
We didn't have a lot of money, so we were wearing the Kmart shoes and the wrong jeans and like the wrong shirt. And remember, it was all like, Forenza sweatshirts and like feathers and like, the 90s, like.
Oh, the sparkly BB shirt that said BB in sequins across the front. I saved up for that.
Meghan once again misses the mark. She could have talked about eating at those Sizzler salad bars, But here she is in the wrong decade, talking about a BB slut shirt when this woman is telling her story about how she climbed out of this poverty. But the biggest fumble that I see about this podcast, and we're only 2 episodes in, I don't think anything's going to change that much over the whole course of the series, is that she has been dodging any real talk about starting a business. Her as ever, whatever jam scam literally is a joke. And she's too much of a fraud to be able to fake that connection with any type of experience. But what I don't understand is, what about Archewell?
I thought nonprofits are slow. They don't get anything done. Like nothing happens. Like it's not for me, right? Like I want to be where the action is. I want to be where the real change is. So I ran Girls Who Code and now Moms First, like a tech company.
Oh, interesting.
Big scale, big numbers, hard driving, big change, KPIs, destination where we want to go with like essentially like a nonprofit lens. So it was always kind of like unicorns and rainbows, I'll be honest, right? Like sometimes you have an idea and the world just collides to make that happen. And so Girls Who Code was a little like that, right? From the beginning, people were like, oh yeah, this needs to exist.
But we all also know that fundraising for nonprofits can be really hard. I mean, maybe not as hard with unicorns and rainbows there, but it can be hard.
Yeah.
What do you think one tip is for people who are starting specifically a nonprofit? How do you get funders?
So here's the thing. I very early on at Girls Who Code got Jack Dorsey to support it. And back then, everybody was like, oh, Jack's doing it? Great. And I'll say with Moms First, it was you. Like very early on, you were like, oh, paid leave, this movement, moms, yes. And I think the thing is for people and entrepreneurs, it does help to get an early adopter, especially one that people admire, right? And that people want to follow and see as like a guidepost. And so, yeah, for Girls Who Code, it was really Jack. And, for Moms First, it was you and Melinda.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that. That's so, I'm glad that I could be additive in any way. I think one of the pieces of advice I was given early on, maybe not even advice, but insight, was when you're looking at funding for a nonprofit or even in business building, but specifically in the nonprofit sector, yes, you want to get one hook because it makes other people feel confident coming in. But in those conversations, if you go to someone and you ask for money, they're likely going to give you advice. And if you go to someone and you ask for advice, they're much more likely to give you money.
Meghan's plastered founder of Archewell next to Duchess of Sussex on every stage she's waddled onto during the past 4 years. Why is she mum now about how it all came together, or why they launched it in the first place? She'd have more credibility, in my opinion, spinning Archewell lies and yarns than peddling this Fugazi jam front, which I'm convinced is a smokescreen to show, hey, Netflix is working with Meghan to help her earn her $100 million, wink, wink, from USAID, wink, wink, laundered, allegedly. I don't think anything that we're seeing right now is real. It's all just a smokescreen to position Meghan, to rebranding her now as to wherever the deep state wants to put her, because clearly they are behind her. And the reason why I say that is despite Harry and Meghan being a colossal mess and all the projects that they have with Spotify, Netflix, the book deals, they continue to still keep getting opportunities to be on a global platform. Like today, it was announced that Meghan is headed back to New York for Time 100 Summit as a speaker. Is anybody shocked? I'm not anymore. Meghan has been cozy with Time's elitist clique from the beginning. And if you notice, it's always the same parasitic crew circling her, including a loony senator, my senator, Kirsten Gillibrand, the senator that gave Meghan the cell phone numbers of the other senators to call to convince them to vote yes for paid parental leave for all. Yeah, that senator. Also in attendance next week with Meghan at this Time 100 summit is their close buddy, Dr. Tedros from the World Health Organization, and also to CEO of Netflix, Ted Sarandos. So you have to ask yourself this question. The rumors that we hear about Netflix wanting to get out of their contract, to me, I think is all bullshit. Because why would Ted Sarandos continue to keep promoting, supporting, and running in the same circles with this lowlife? Unless she's been doing what she's supposed to be doing, which is to be this distraction and to cause chaos wherever she goes. I mean, when you look at all the content that Harry and Meghan have put out, for the most part, except for Polo, have been mainly political and propaganda. Heart of Invictus is a perfect example of pushing propaganda about Ukraine and supporting the war. Look at the Harry and Meghan 6-hour wine fest. Yeah, many people think that that was an attack on the institution. Yeah, it was. But the bigger focus really was to destabilize using race. That too was propaganda. Guaranteed, all paid by USAID. So now when we look at Ted Sarandos swimming around with this shark, he's got to be a shark himself too. Because why else would you continue to support someone who has been this big of a failure unless it was for another reason? And the only other reason that I can think of is that they are positioning her or getting her into position to run for something or going to seed her into something. So when you look at this little brief or announcement that was made, it says here, speakers for the day-long event include Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, and founder of As Ever. Well, why didn't they mention Archewell? And I think this is a big clue. Meghan doesn't talk about Archewell in this podcast. Meghan doesn't want it listed on this. And Meghan doesn't want to mention her successes on Sussex.com. Now, when you go to Sussex.com and you look at the updates and the news, you would think that Meghan would have put this all over the Sussex.com website, but it's nowhere to be found. Neither is her With Love Meghan, as well as this damn stupid podcast. What it looks like to me is that Meghan is distancing herself from Archewell, not only because of the bad press that it's been getting, but it's also catching up to them as to what they have been up to over the past 4 years. In addition, I can totally see Harry and Meghan dump this on the lap of other people in order to wipe their hands clean, but that's not going to work so much. That's why we have to continue to keep talking about it. The other thing is if Meghan does have intentions on being seated into some type of government position, whether it be some seat in California, then she's going to want to get rid of the foundation because look what happened with Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation. She doesn't want this shit to be following her. You hear me? So this could very well be the reason why they have her listed as this stupid As Ever founder, because what else does Meghan have? Nothing. When we look at how they seated AOC into a position, and now there's some crazy talk that she might be the best candidate for the 2028 election with Bernie Sanders, you know that the Democrat Party is struggling to fill seats or to improve their brand. I mean, we all know that putting Meghan Markle somewhere in there is not the wisest thing, and that's why it's so important that we continue to make a tremendous amount of noise because we don't want to get to that place where there's no turning back. Because the moment this woman steps foot in our government, it's over. And I guarantee that these demon rats need to continue to keep seating people that are going to do their bidding so they can get these contracts, so they can continue the siphoning of American taxpayer money. This is the only reason why Meghan would be put into a position so she can serve the elite, because ultimately that's what she has been doing. And if you notice, the globalists still back these two frauds. And that's because they put them there to do exactly what they've been doing. I really do hope that the rumors aren't true that Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris might be showing up in one of these podcasts. If that happens, then I think we'll know what's up. But what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content. But until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Such a fraud.